Therapy roulette, consent event. Trauma disguised as comedy. Therapy roulette, consent event. If you don't have problems, then you're likely repressing shit and you should find a therapist who's not me.
Welcome back to Therapy Roulette. I'm Michele Baci. Today I'm joined by David Khalili. He's a sex therapist and the founder of Rouse Relational Wellness in San Francisco. David, welcome.
Hi, Michele. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And it's always good to talk to another California living person because I don't have to pretend to be more awake or more tired. Makes it
Yeah, you
easier.
live Southern California, right?
Yeah, I'm in Long Beach, California. So
Oh, cool.
it feels like the most southern to me, but I've only been out here a few years. I don't know the state that well.
Hey, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I live in San Francisco, born and raised, and there's some weird rivalry between us, but I don't really follow it.
If it's related to sports, you got me. I
Yeah,
don't know
I'm
what
not.
it is.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I'm
Sports ball
sure-
seems cool. Yeah.
I'm sure your city has its merits as well. But yeah, sports ball.
One or two. Yeah.
So it looks like you're in your office is this Rouse Relational Wellness or is this your home office?
This one office for Rouse, yeah, and then our office that we see clients in, it's in the Castro, and we have much better design than this one. It has very kind of
Okay.
flowy, dreamlike, space where people can kind of let go.
Mhm.
But we hope for at least.
Well, this background looks professional as well with the books and the
Thank you.
frames.
Yeah. It's a mess outside of the camera. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah. No one knows. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us the structure of Rouse Relational Wellness? It's mostly like a therapy practice, or it seems to cater towards men?
Yeah, and that's slowly changing, but right, we are a group practice of sex positive sex and relationship therapists that want to help people feel less shame and more self-love around their sexual and gender identity. And so this was started, I work primarily with male identified folks around sex and anxiety. And so I've been doing like workbooks and workshops and groups and things like that to help men feel less like anxious, less kind of inward about their sex life and insecure, and have a place to talk about it, because it's certainly there, but I think the ability to talk about it, or the acceptance to talk about it, hasn't been as present. And so I have two associates that I work with, but we're also starting to open up more offerings to gender expansive folks and gender queer folks and female identified folks around sex and anxiety and relationships and anxiety. And so we have some great clinicians that I'm also going to be hiring more clinicians coming through. So we do individual therapy, relationship therapy, and group therapy. And so we work with couples and triads as well, both virtually and in person. And then I run some groups for ongoing process groups for men who have anxiety around sex and relationships. And we will be having a group coming up soon-ish, excuse me, with Marjorie Boggs Vasquez, who is our newest clinician. And they will be doing a group on intimate partner violence survivors. And so really looking forward to being, able to offer more services. And in addition to that, we have online workshops. Yeah, thank you. Our online workshops are both for the general public.
So many offerings, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of important topics that don't really get a lot of news or attention in like the common headlines. So that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, a big thing for us is like queer men in the margins. And so queer men who don't fit in either because their racial or ethnic identities don't allow for a queer identity, or they're not fully, on one end of the Kinsey scale. And so they actually hold some liminal space. And so they're not accepted in gay communities, are not accepted in straight communities, and same with female identified folks or trans folks. And so I think it's just creating a space for those that don't fully fit into categories, which is a lot of people actually.
Yeah. everyone's kind of in that like gray in between. I mean, the more human you are, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that we want to make space for that, where there doesn't have to be such a perfect or a rigid way of being. I think that causes a lot of harm.
Mm-hmm. So you said you work with a lot of couples and also individuals and triads, you said? Is that like
Yeah,
a 3-person relationship?
yeah, whether they're all dating each
Okay.
other, or there's like one person that's dating only one, but there's different configurations of non-monogamy.
That seems so hard from the therapist perspective.
The scheduling is hard. trying to
Yeah,
schedule.
I can imagine.
But it's a lot to hold.
Scheduling plus personality.
Yeah, you're holding. It's like one thing I think about is I've worked with triads where it's there's a primary partnership, and then one partner is dating another person, and then there's some issue that's going on between them, and that is rife with what we call couples privilege, where the primary partnership gets to have all the power and say in what happens, and then that third person will just be kind of at the beck and call or at the whim of their decisions. And that doesn't always happen, but it can happen, and it can be really negatively impactful on that third person. And so we also have to keep in mind of like how the room is set up. If I have a couch that's a 2-seater and one other seat, it's going to really like amplify that couple's privilege depending on who sits where. And so it's a lot to keep in mind, to kind of create, especially the way that we work. We want to reduce the hierarchy as much as possible, even from our end. Like as a therapist, I don't want to be the expert.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so complex. And then, so you're opening it up beyond men, like focusing a little bit more on queer men and also everyone else. But like, it seems like that's the focal point of what I can glean on the website and from the work
Right.
you've done so far.
Totally. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because you think like women are usually the ones who have more anxiety or they have more like worries going
Certainly,
on, at least traditionally.
Yeah.
But then men have anxiety too, and then they just like present it differently.
Yeah.
'Cause
100%.
I forget, because my personal experience is like men are fine with talking, they're fine with sharing some kind of feelings that they have. They're more outspoken, but it doesn't mean they're confident or like cool about everything they're saying.
Yeah. It might
It's good
be
to get to the
more.
bottom of it.
No, I agree. Yeah. My experience is that they might talk more, but they feel like they have to say, they have to say it in exactly. They say it in a certain. They feel like they have to say it in a certain way in order to be accepted or approved by others, which is true. I think there's some people will chastise men for being more vulnerable, or for not being quote unquote masculine. The masculinity card is a very fragile card that breaks very easily, and I gave it up a long time ago because it was getting me in trouble that I didn't want to deal with. So I think men, if they're able to develop the emotional intelligence to speak about their own experience and about their emotional experience and not put the blame on others, I think it could be a lovely thing.
Yeah. So you seem to focus on like their shame, their vulnerability, like what are the challenges they face in sex, dating, relationships.
The shame being a big one.
What's a common issue? What's a common issue these days that you come across with clients?
I think lately it's been just being able to like work through the anxiety of talking about it with a partner or with someone, like that experiential process of just being like, I'm anxious, I don't know a lot about sex, or I feel fumbly during sex, or sex feels awkward for me, or I love sex a lot and you don't, and how do we work with this? To like how to like sit in those difficult conversations. I feel like that's been maybe that's just been my bag lately of like wanting to help guys talk about that, but it's also seemed like a thing of like, all right, I know I'm anxious, I know that all of this is swirly for me, but how do I talk about it? Um, maybe that's
Yeah,
also
how do you
like,
get the cards out on the table?
right, right, and like, and not run away from it, not get angry at yourself or the other person, and it can
Mhm.
be tricky. You know, it's a lot of, I think women are socialized to have a more emotional regulation because men don't like women being emotional. um, you
Yeah,
know,
it
I think,
scares them.
yeah, there's a great book I read, um, Rage Becomes Her, on just like how anger is policed in women, and all my male clients
Mhm.
who have any interaction with women, which is all men, um, I'm like, you got to read this book. It's not eye-opening to women, but it is very helpful to see this for us.
Yeah, that it sounds interesting because women do have to like get through it and adapt more so than a man does because like a man lives comfortably in our world. It's designed for the man.
Totally. Yep.
Women have to figure it out.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. And then when you get your anxieties out with your partner, you have to hope the partner is like ready to receive those and ready to talk about
Yeah.
them. And it's really like you're dealing with two people. Hopefully they can understand each other.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It is, right. I think it's just trying to figure out the when and the how to talk about it can be really difficult too.
Mhm.
Like setting aside time
And you
can be
said you,
important.
yeah, not rushing through
Right.
it. You said you designed a workbook for men related to sex, dating, vulnerability about relationships. How has been the feedback from that? Like, what have you seen come out of publishing the workbook?
It's been really positive. It's been I the workbook came from last year. I was doing these groups for men who have anxiety around sex and relationships, and so I took some of the things that we were talking about and some of the things that I cover in my either individual sessions or group sessions, and put them in a workbook. um, and so there's both exercises that guys can try on their own or with a partner. And then there's writing prompts that they can fill out afterwards to reflect on what those exercises were like, to really kind of integrate the experience for them. Um, there's some exercises in there that can be done by people of all genders. It's, there's one that's called host and guest. That's just, if there's two people in the partnership, it's about creating where one person takes the responsibility of the host and takes the responsibility of creating a space that can be really nice and lovely and comforting for their partner, not to have sex necessarily, but to just be intimate and close together. And then they take turns doing that, and the guest's role is to show up and try to relax as best they can and be in the moment. Um, and so there's also other exercises in there, just kind of changing the way that you look at sex and intimacy. And so actually I have a link I can give you where people can go and get those 2 pages from the workbook to learn about just a very quick way of changing your view of sex and intimacy that can help with reducing anxiety, because it takes pressure about this very specific way that sex should be done. So I can give that link
Yeah.
to you later on if you want.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put it in the show notes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So it's like a
But yeah,
little
it's been
sample
fun.
of how to get started.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
just like a different way to kind of, because we're just trained and socialized to view sex in this very particular way, when to quote Aladdin, there's a whole new world. There's like a life out there that people can explore.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of the joys of life and living on earth, right? So why not learn to be less anxious, more comfortable in that
Yeah.
the whole world of sex and dating.
Right. Like I tell people, like, you're a human, you're a bag of meat, and you get to learn about yourself. You get to learn about your body, your psyche. You get to learn about all the different parts of your body that like pleasure, that hate touch, that are in between. You get to learn about all the fantasies you have and all the excitements you have and all the fears you have. And so I think if you can approach it as this exploratory place of curiosity, that'd be cool. But we're not often socialized in that way. So it's kind of working with the desire versus that barrier.
Yeah, it's very American society. Seems to be a problem of like deep shame and not talking about sex openly. It has to be like an underground nighttime type of activity.
Right, which is also fun, but there's
But
there's
hard to do. Like, it's
hard to
hard to
find.
always keep it under wraps for your whole life. It's unsustainable.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, I think to be able to integrate ourselves is great.
hmm And I like this idea of the guest and the host, because then one person seems to be more dominant in the conversation. That way it's not like, hopefully it doesn't get too tangled and someone gets very upset or whatever. Like, hopefully someone can steer the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, and it's about connecting both like verbally and emotionally and also physically. And so there's some practices in there of um, like tiered massages, I guess you can call it, where it's taking off of sensate focus, where you kind of do a different level of touch. And so for this one, it's like you start with clothed and touching your partner, and you're just kind of aware of what it's like to touch your partner, and your partner being aware of what it's like to be touched. And then it goes to unclothed, no genital touching, and then unclothed, genital touching, and then unclothed, genital touching, and orgasm. And then after that, do what you want to do, have fun, go at it. But in this can get broken down into like multiple dates, and it can go from, you can either do it on 3 dates or you can do it up to 12 dates. Just depends on how slow you need to go.
So it's like introducing foreplay and
Yeah,
making both people more comfortable slowly.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And
like
it's
how
like,
you're like,
it's
and once you get to orgasm, we're no more instructions. You're go
it's
from there.
free form.
Yeah. That's probably better.
Right, yeah.
All the type A people could close the book.
Right, they're like, okay, and I'm done.
Yeah, that's
Um,
funny.
but it's also right, it's to take away the view of the orgasm being like the only thing you do. Like you can have a date and you're fooling around and touching and all that good stuff, but it doesn't have to lead to orgasm. And I think a lot of guys can get really fixated on, they got to come, they got to get off, and if they don't, then it's not a success. And um, I think that's just kind of the pressure that we're told to do and to be under. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the surface level story of sex. It's not what it really is. It's very like, that's one dimension.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful dimension, but there's many, many, many more. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And do you promote that to your clients, like working through this workbook as well?
Yeah, I think, promoting any way to just kind of slow down and change expectations so that it's not like limiting yourself, but just chunking things out to really understand what it is that you like and don't like.
Mhm.
Anyone who's read Emily Nagoski is probably hearing some of her language in the way that I'm talking, where it's like it's really good to know what you like and don't like, the accelerator and the brakes. And so I strongly believe in that we are, sometimes people can be like highly aware of what they like and not really know what they don't like, and vice versa. And so to kind of spread it out of like a lot of ways to find pleasure, a lot of ways to get off. You don't have to get off to have pleasure. And so, where is the in between, and where can you get creative with it?
Yeah, you're really attacking that whole mess of what might be wrapped up in anxiety or fear, or you're ignoring like what's actually going on, and you're,
Yeah.
detangling all of that and going to the meat of the issue. Like, how
Right.
can I have fun when I have sex instead of, having a panic attack?
Yeah.
That's
I think,
good.
right.
You're doing good
That was a
work.
good goal. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I think it also helps people feel more engaged with the other people that they're fooling around with, right? It's not, when you're anxious, you can be kind of inward. And
Mhm.
you can lose track of what the other person is doing or wants or is saying to you, or and so I think that can be a really important form of safety and connection by reducing anxiety when you're having sex. and when you're being intimate. I think it reduces a lot of harm that can potentially happen unintentionally.
Yeah, because if you're so wrapped up in your own anxiety, you're not really there. You're not really considering the other person,
Yeah,
um, and that affects the relationship.
absolutely. Yeah.
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 Do you so you work as a therapist? Do you also do therapy individually?
Yeah, I was listening to your episodes and I heard yeah, I loved being in therapy.
Mhm.
Been a
Well,
long
I always
time.
think it's interesting if a therapist is like, no, never tried it.
It's the worst. Why would
Yeah.
I do that?
I don't believe in what I practice.
But I've talked, yeah, all right. I've talked to other therapists. I've had supervisors that were like, "You're in therapy?" And I'm like, "Wow, that is a power move. Like I can challenge you, but I'm also employed by you."
Mm,
And I don't know but yeah, I love therapy. I'm in therapy. I've been in
interesting.
therapy since I was like, um, I've had some troubles. And so, the high school times, been in therapy in and out since then.
Mhm.
Um, Done a lot of psychodynamic therapy and relational therapy. I've been doing recently um, more DBT, CPT focused therapy in the last year or so. Um, Before my kid was born, I have anxiety myself, which is like not a surprise that I'm focused on anxiety. Um, and as my kid was being baked, I had my own anxieties around like what's going to happen in my life in this world. Holy shit!
Yeah, it does
And
put the pressure on.
oh boy, yeah, it is wild. It was like I intellectually knew it, but to like feel it is another level.
Yeah, I don't have any kids, but I can tell. I mean, in theory,
Yeah,
how much pressure you and responsibility you take on.
yeah, yeah. And so I went to this therapist to help with some concrete things that I've been avoiding. Uh, just like very basic stuff, but for me it was just like I'd been avoiding it for so long, like some my own medical anxieties that I have. Um and I am very lucky that I was had a therapist that I was currently working with, because when he was born, it was a very healthy um pregnancy, healthy labor, a wild labor, but a healthy labor. Um, but then 2 days later, we almost lost him. His heart stopped, his breathing stopped. We performed CPR on him, and we called 911. And I won't get into it too much because it's still very raw for me. But I'm really glad that he ended up spending a long time in the NICU. We were told many times that we might lose him, or that he might be just low functioning for the rest of his life. And if I didn't have a therapist at that time, that would have been a really fucking hard. It was a really fucking hard time to begin with, and I'm still healing from it. All are, but just to have that space where I can be like, holy shit, I performed CPR on my kid. We almost lost him. Um,
Yeah.
we don't know if he's still around. And for Rachel, my lovely therapist, to be like, that's horrible. Let's talk about what we can do for you, and let's work this through, and work through some of the practices that we've been working on, was really helpful.
Yeah, that's so great. You had that set up already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That
No,
could be
so I think,
terrifying.
ooh, yeah. So he's very, he's big and chunky now, and showing good signs of development. We'll
Mhm.
see. We'll see what, as he continues developing, what impacts that's had on him. But um, to have that resource, and also like just to build those skills ahead of time,
Mhm.
because it's impossible to think when that's going on in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, because you already have the therapy tools within you to be like, let me take a step back and not panic. And if I
Right.
breathe, like I'll get oxygen in my brain, that'll help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's key. I mean, I think all parents should take an intake of like how healthy they are psychologically and hopefully do some therapy before they become
Boy.
parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's start a campaign on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's my own personal agenda, so I hope others do the same.
Yeah. Let's make some billboards. That
Yeah.
sounds good.
Spread the message.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I mean, medically, you think of like all the things that could go wrong and the world is corrupt and messed up, so of course,
Mhm.
bringing a kid into the world, who knows what'll happen.
Yeah.
So you might as well prepare.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to build up your resiliency. That's for sure.
Hmm. Are you still seeing your therapist now? Your kid's 7 months old now?
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
still seeing each other. I'm still working through some of the trauma. I'm thinking about going through like EMDR or something like that for
Yeah, I've heard a lot about EMDR. I think it's trendy now.
yeah. Uh, and I've had some therapist friends that have gone through the training and that felt like it's worked really well. And so something that can help with like that single event that uh, kind of seared into my mind. It would be nice to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, being able to move past it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, how do you think you're doing as a parent 7 months in?
Good enough, I hope. Like
Yeah.
he smiles at me. I'm making him giggle. I think I'm good. I think I'm, attuned to him, and I'm having a lot of good times with him. And
Mhm.
I enjoy my work, but we also have to work, and so I don't like that it gets, it eats away time from my time with him. But uh, I know there's going to be, knock on wood, if I'm still around, that I'll be able to help him and stay around and be here with him. And
Yeah. You have
so
to do
yeah,
both. You have to have your life and be a parent.
yeah,
You can't just give up
yeah.
like everything you were doing before.
No, yeah. So it's been I'm enjoying just kind of making him giggle and having
Mhm.
some good like parent kid time.
Nice. Very cool. So, do you this current therapist, it seems like you met her pretty recently? You haven't been with her for a long time.
Yeah, like about a year maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So then I'm guessing you took like long breaks with your personal therapy.
Yeah. I trying to think of like the longest period of time. I think like the longest period of time I had one therapist was like 5 years maybe, on a
Mm.
weekly basis. And that was when my my dad passed away in kind of an intense way, and so it was like really good to have that space. And so I did, and I was also going through my graduate training program and becoming a therapist, and going through all these changes. And so to have that weekly contact to process the grief and the like transition in my life was really really helpful to just have that support.
Yeah. That's good. You can realize you need it and you're getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, yeah,
I have to remind myself of that because I tend to like end things with a therapist at some point because I either like feel like, oh, I've gotten my fill or
yeah.
I'm good. Or I feel like everyone else needs this more. Like I'm doing
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah.
And then like I actually don't, I mean, that's just my perspective. I don't really know if everyone else needs it more.
Right, like who, yeah.
That's just me thinking like I got this down at this point.
Yeah,
But
I think it's good to test it out for a little while.
yeah, for
No
me, like
problem.
it's so helpful just to have that third party like talk things out every once in a while. Right now I go bi-weekly and that feels very
Yeah,
manageable. So I hope to stick around for a while doing therapy, you
that's
know.
yeah. I heard you had one of the episodes I heard you had the consult call with your therapist who was like sometimes
Yes.
I use dark humor, and I
Yes.
was like, oh, maybe I should, because I use a lot of dark humor, and I put that on. I think I put that on my website. Maybe I need to put that on there. But I was like, oh, that's a really good idea to kind of flag that ahead of time.
Or at least humor, right? At least like
Right.
knowing like humor is available cuz some people no sense of humor. Or
Yeah, yeah,
they think it's there but it's not really clicking.
yeah.
And that's my therapist now. Like she's just a great, easy person to talk to. And so I feel like, oh, are we just like becoming
Right.
friends? Should I end this professional relationship? But that's just because it's like easy to talk to her, I
Yeah,
think.
she's doing a good job.
Yeah. And I have to remind myself, like, you deserve therapy. You gotta stick with it
Good.
until you know it's time to go.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that my therapist and I are kind of butting heads at is she's like, you can be your own therapist. She's like, you're our therapist, but you can be your own therapist and you don't need therapy forever. And I was like, I don't know about that. I like therapy. I like having that sounding board, whether it's like once a month or every other week, or I like the exploratory depth work that can happen, especially as I'm going through this. But her modality is solution focused, and it's been fucking wonderful. It's been, I mean, I worked through anxieties that I'd been holding on to for decades, and it just was really helpful to have that support.
Is she
So
getting
I think,
you to find solutions? Are you like hitting that point? I feel like I
yeah,
would be like, solutions, let's start slow.
like what is this?
Yeah. I'd be like, let's not rush to the goal.
Yeah. I think, she's really great at reminding me what's already in my tool belt and reminding me of the taking perspective of what I've already done,
Mhm.
um, and uh, and helping me with boundaries, or like that shit that all of us, or most of us therapists have, of like feeling like we have to have responsibility for other people's emotions or things like that.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very empathetic, like regularly. So I can't imagine being a therapist and like taking all that baggage within and like bringing it home. It must be so hard to create those boundaries.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like it's funny because I feel like early on in my career, I had to, the first 5 years of my career, I definitely had, it was like a crash course in therapeutic boundaries and not taking on our clients' work and all that stuff. And I feel much better at that now. And so now I'm working on that with like friends and family. That's like the advanced level, the ones who like bred you and raised you, and now you got to have differentiation from them at 40 years old.
Yeah, like
I'm like laughing at myself for
setting boundaries with your friends and family, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can be hard.
And coming, both of my parents immigrated, and my dad came from Iran, and Iran has like a very collectivistic culture of, and we had a big Persian family growing up. My Austrian side of the family stayed in kind of the East Coast in Austria, but my Persian side of the family was all over Bay Area, and so we had these big Sunday dinners and events and all that stuff, which I'm trying to give for my kiddo now. Um, but you had to kind of be really aware of your representation of the family, what is allowed and not allowed.
Yeah, it's a very nuanced language that you have to learn because every family is different, cultures are different,
Yeah.
and then you're an individual, so you can set your own boundaries, your own rules,
Yeah.
but you might lose a few relationships along the way.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, my therapist has been good with just like helping me come up with ideas of how to create more boundaries, where she's like, you don't have to do X, Y, and Z at every holiday. And I'm like, that'd be nice. if I could avoid a few holidays.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. A few like what you feel are obligations. They don't have to be obligations.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be
Yeah. And
hard
that
with a big
it can
family.
be it can be hard with a big family, and you got to trust that like it's not gonna collapse the family, or if it
No.
does, that's another thing. And
Yeah, like if one person's holding everyone else up, that's another problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. You just like by talking about it, you can really put pieces together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other wonderful thing about therapy is the sounding board aspect of it, which
Mm.
is one of many aspects of it. But just to like hear yourself say these words, you're like, wow, shit, am I really saying that? Am I really like, is that the belief that I really want to hold? Um, or the times where you feel really emphatic about it and you're feeling like certain about your beliefs and values. I think it's a really good developmental experience.
And then on the opposite side, like what are you avoiding? What don't you want to talk
Yeah,
about?
right, right. What are we not talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
sometimes like if a like a regular common question, my therapist is like, how do you feel about this? And I'm like, oh, we don't have to do that. Like I already know an idea of what will happen. We don't have to go there.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And it's like, well, why are we avoiding it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
interesting. Can I ask you how do you have your office set up for when patients come in for like the seating, or do you rearrange
I
it?
Yeah, right now I'm only doing telehealth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because of my kid's health issues, I'm just doing telehealth until he's about a year old, and then I'll meet people in person. But
I'm a big fan of the virtual therapy
It's great.
session. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. I do miss, I think couples will be the first folks that I'll start to see in person, because I feel like that's, although I've, 2.5 years or so, it's been fine. I've found ways, and I was doing telehealth before the great pandemic, but the in-person office is, has like a 2-seater couch and then a chair for the therapist, and then we do have another chair if there's going to be a third person in there. But I do want a bigger office if I'm going to do kind of more triad therapy or group therapy. But our office is located in the Castro, and we share, it's a suite of offices. I think it's like 5 offices or so. And all the other practitioners are either sex therapists or sex and relationship coaches. And so it's great to have that community in there. And that's been something that I've lucked out on, or maybe I've prioritized, where like my last few offices have been with in communities of other sex therapists. And it's great for cross referrals, and also just to like not worry that you're getting judged, or
Yeah. Which you wouldn't think you would in San Francisco, but
there's some judgy
I
ass
guess
therapists
everywhere.
out there. There's some. Yeah. Have you been on a therapist Facebook group?
No, I mean, I think
You've
I'm
survived.
very interested in therapy, so I'm somehow on the outskirts of the whole world, but I'm not
Got
in
it.
a therapist.
Oh, you're not
group.
a therapist.
No, I'm not
Okay.
a therapist.
Oh, okay. You're just
Yeah.
you play one really well.
Yeah, I'm pretend.
So if
My
I'm just giving you all the
sister-
secrets. Yeah.
My sister is a therapist, so I have an in. I have an in.
Okay, so go to your sister and have her show you some of the Facebook groups that therapists have. It is nasty. It is like a middle
Really?
school all over again. Just all of the visceral shit that I don't know what's going on, but I think that's a whole study, a whole book on its own. But
So really, like this middle
it's bad.
school
It's
middle school dynamic, the gossip and the clicks, it really does occur everywhere.
yeah, everywhere.
Okay.
And so therapists are not immune to it, nor are lawyers or nurses, or I'm sure I'm going to get some shit from nurses and lawyers, but whatever. Or I'm certainly therapists. But if anyone's telling you that that all therapist Facebook groups are nice, they're lying to you. It can get nasty.
Yeah. I guess it's just a bunch of people. Yeah.
That's my event for today. Yeah.
Training be damned. Like you can quickly forget everything you learned.
Yeah. It goes into, yeah. So there's my 1 to 2 minute vent for you.
I know, that's crazy, because I would assume like you go to school to learn the inner workings of people's minds. Like you must have a lot of patience, a lot of empathy.
Right.
But then I'm sure other clients or encounters really stress you out, and you're like, no, I'm going to be a terrible person to this one
this
other
is
person.
my chance. Yeah.
This is my chance
I like that
to
idea.
get all my anger and rage.
Yeah. Maybe that's why you watch like trashy TV. Like 90 Day Fiance is fantastic. It is. And Love is Blind, and yeah.
Do you watch it? Oh man. I've quit recently. I've been trying to get off of it. Yeah.
Was it becoming a problem for you?
It's just hard. It's too long, and it doesn't make me feel good overall.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Which one? Watching 90 Day Fiance doesn't make me feel good, because now it's like so clear everyone's using everyone.
Got it.
Like one person might be in love and the other person just wants to be famous or become an American citizen.
Right.
So that doesn't make me feel great. And then I've gotten into watching Queer Eye when I need to chill, because at least in Queer Eye they try to they shine you up, they make your life better, they put little moisturizer on your face, and I always think I could do that.
You can put moisturizer on your face. You can.
I know.
Yeah.
I could have a longer skincare routine.
Yeah, I'm trying myself. Yeah. Yeah, no, Queer Eye is lovely, and it's very positive, and I think Getting Curious with Jonathan Van Ness is also fantastic and lovely, and
I haven't gotten into that one.
Oh, that's really both the podcast and their Netflix show is really fantastic, and actually Getting Curious with Jonathan Van Ness was designed to this is third-hand information, so I don't know if it's true, but let's pretend like it's true. It was
It's probably
designed to
true.
have.
Yeah,
It's
you
very
heard it
true.
somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. It was designed to be used to have difficult conversations with family members and friends.
Ooh.
And so they'll, to show your racist auntie this or whatever, and have a conversation about it, because Jonathan Van Ness definitely does, and they have a great name where you have to say the entire name, but
Such a diva.
present, yeah. I mean, they stay curious, which I think is really good for work as a therapist, as well as to stay curious and non-judgmental. And so, as much as I do love my judgy reality shows where I'm just judging it up and down,
I mean, Love is Blind. You can't get
oh boy,
more
yeah.
judgmental from that. I think I watched an episode or two,
Yeah.
and then I couldn't stick with it.
Every once in a while on TikTok, I will take a clip from 90 Day Fiance, and soon I'll do with Love is Blind, and Sexy Beast is another one that's great. I'll do little kind of therapist reads of those, but which is fun.
Those are interesting to me, because like, oh my God, if you could open the therapy history on these people, like, you'd see a lot.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get here? How did you meet your 90 Day Fiance? And where's all the stuff we're not seeing on film?
Yeah. What's edited out? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And then I'm hoping it does make your job and your day to day a little lighter by watching trash TV.
It does. It absolutely does. And then there's been times where a client will just kind of say a line from the trashy TV, not citing where it's from. They're like, "Oh, that was a great scene when Shake said that," and then it's a great little rapport builder, I guess. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, it connects you on some level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. Maybe I'll pick 90 Day back up. We'll see.
There you go.
So you've already kind of given us a little rants. Is there anything else you wanted to rant about?
I'm really curious about your experience as a stand-up comic, but I don't know if that's allowed. But I tried that a little bit, and I've done like MC for different events, and it's both gone wonderfully and just tanked. And so, how do you work through that? Yeah.
Were you emceeing at comedy shows or like other types of things?
It was kind of like a mixed variety show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some kind of like entertainment.
It was
thing.
Yeah. There was in like the early, like the late aughts. I was working as a writer for a porn website that did more like alternative types of porn. And so they had two different events where it had like various forms of burlesque and music and different types of performances. And I was the MC for both of them. And the one that I had,
what a weird job.
It was great. Yeah. The one where I had like very little time to plan for, where they were just like, "Hey, can you do this?" And I jumped on stage, killed it, did wonderfully.
Oh yeah.
The one that they were like, "Hey, in 3 months, we're going to be doing this again. Can you do this?" And I was like, "Absolutely. I'm going to devote all this time and energy to it." And I just fucking froze, Michelle. I did not do well at all. And like people were giving me hugs afterwards. It was bad.
Right. I think a lot of it, it could be that what you just mentioned, that like, oh, it was more spontaneous. Oh, it was more like I was dreading it or overthinking it. That could have an effect on your performance.
Yeah.
For me, I'm getting back into stand-up after the COVID times. Like I think I really started up again a few months ago. And now I'm learning like you have to have a little pre-show routine. You have to like I have to have headphones on. I'm not talking to people. I'm just like listening to good pump up music. Like I have a little playlist I listen to.
Nice.
I like to listen to my set once or twice, just recorded before I go on.
That's a really good idea.
And if I could talk to no one, I do good. But then if people come into play or I like get to in my head without the headphones on, then it can go bad.
Okay. I like that strategy.
So if I'm trying to placate others by like seeing my boyfriend in the audience or my friends who came out to see me, if I'm like worried about them and not about the set, then I think too much about stuff.
Yeah. How did just like trial and error, you figured that out about yourself?
Just the last few shows. Like if I have time to put my headphones on, I do so much better. And
Did
then
you ever try to do?
I like get my heart racing, or I'm like looking at my notebook and the words are
Yeah.
blurring, and I'm like, maybe I should stop looking at my notebook. Like I'm clearly losing my mind in the moment.
Right. Like I've got all these signals that are telling me that, yeah.
So the more focus you can get, the more in the zone. For me, it's like music, listening to my set once
Okay.
or twice, and then just like focusing on the stage. Everything else can come after.
Yeah. Okay. I like that idea of the listening to your set. I even in just like the workshops that I've been doing, it's like speaking to a screen. I can't see the other people there.
Mm.
And I had this feeling that if I listened to the recording, if I recorded myself doing run-throughs and then listened to it, that it would help. So you're validating that for me. Thank you. Yeah.
I think it helps so much because then you hear how it went. Like I can make notes like, oh, this line didn't hit. Let's cut it or let's change it.
Uh,
You can adjust, which is good for performing. And
yeah.
then it helps you memorize it, like the same way you would memorize music or a speech.
Yeah.
So then
Cool.
by memorizing, you get more confident. So I'm just trying to build up the confidence, and the room for error I'm trying to diminish.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's hard. It's a lot of like, thankless. Uh it's a long road ahead. So
Yeah.
hopefully it gets rewarding at some point.
Yeah, I hope so. The same for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're also doing shows in New York and LA, so you're hitting both coasts. That's cool.
Yeah. Luckily I'm from New York, so I can stay with my
Uh-huh.
parents and like do shows there if I want. But LA, I'm still like, the drive.
Yeah.
It still gets me.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
I'm still averse to the road. But
Yeah.
that could change. I could get more used to it. How long did you do comedy for?
Not that long. I think it was, I've done more writing of comedy than I've done performing, and I think just that that performance anxiety, was getting in my way.
Well, I heard
And
it's so expected. Even the best comics like get that anxiety, at least in the beginning.
yeah. But something about my kid almost I'm saying this as I'm laughing. Something about my kid almost dying makes me just not give a shit anymore. And so there's a part of me of just being like, fuck it, I'm gonna try it. I've got, I've gone through hell and back, and so let's give this a try.
I know if you ever have to realize the fragility of life, it would be a child dying. So
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the
death is-
time. Do it all.
Yeah. Let's just have at it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's also it's a mark of character when like a funny person doesn't have to be a comic or doesn't have to prove it to the world. Like I don't have that in me. So like good on you for not having to like prove to everyone you're a comedian.
But I'm on this show. I love external validation. It's great. It's
It's like a warm coat.
It's so nice. Yeah. That's why I'm pretty sure that's why I have multiple degrees, is because I was just seeking validation the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it worked out for me. It's fine.
Hey, it's a motivator, so it gets it done.
Yeah. But as I said to you before we recorded, I think that I'm a proud PhD dropout. And that was a good decision on my part. Yeah.
Because how long is a PhD? It's how many years?
2 minutes. It's 5 years-ish. The one that I was going to was going to be about 5 or 6 years, including the dissertation.
It's a big investment.
Yeah. And there were moments where I regretted it, but I think in the here and now, I made the right decision. I made the right decision for who I was at that time. I was entering a PhD program at the age of 24, which is like way too fucking young. And my friend, even when I got accepted into the program, admitted is a very different. When I got accepted into the program, my friend was like, "Oh, do you hear that sucking sound?" And I was like, "No, what do you mean?" He goes, "That's your 20s going down the drain." I was like, "Oh,
no.
Okay." And he was right, and I'm glad that I bounced, because I still did academia and I still gave up a lot of my 20s to academia, but it wasn't as intense, or it was more fulfilling going about the way that I went. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was the right call for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sucks when your friend has to like be a little bully and you're like, did you have to phrase it that way?
Now? Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, I guess it helped you. So that's awesome that you created your own path.
Yeah.
So on Therapy Roulette, we like to spin a wheel. Are you ready to spin?
Right. Let's do this.
Okay. Let's see where you land.
Oh, you can. Yeah. Nice.
I actually just got back from Vegas, so
Oh, perfect.
I didn't get to play roulette, but this is
I love roulette.
this is close enough.
It's a fun game for me.
Yeah. You got the number 8, which is, what do you believe is the center of your life?
Ugh. Why'd I have that reaction?
It's very like
It's-
spiritual phrasing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
What's the driving force of your life?
kindness. I think it's been really important for me. My mom is kind, but my dad was kinder. She's not gonna listen to this. And she would agree.
In their own ways.
My dad passed away. My mom's still around, but maybe no. But my dad was very generous and kind, and I saw how many lives that touched, and I picked that up, and other family members picked that up, and I saw how that continued, and that is my biggest goal for my son and any kids that I have, and any people that I can have any influence on, is to help them not be an asshole.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's a great goal.
Yeah, and that's just been my, and like, yeah, I want my kid or kids to be successful and but just be fucking nice, and don't take advantage of people, and don't be shitty. A therapist told me that being less shitty was not a clear goal. I say, fuck, that's not true. I think being less shitty is an excellent goal. And so I just want, yeah.
They want you to phrase it differently, I guess.
They want to, yeah, whatever.
They're like, you mean be better than you were before?
Yeah. And I think we can be really rewarded for not being kind in this world, in life. And so I think it's a great quality of a character if you can find other ways of being rewarded by not being shitty to people. I could be way more successful if I took advantage of people throughout my life, and for better, I did not. And I'm doing just fine. Yeah.
And you probably sleep more easily.
My sleep issues are a different reason, but
well, at least your morals and
but I
ethics
hear what
are
you're saying.
intact.
Yeah. Right. And I think that's my right. And that's the thing that I try to work with clients is finding your values, and like having your values guide you. And that's been really good work that I've been doing with people around like impulsive behavior, and being honest with partners and people in their life. And but yeah, so that's my guiding value is kindness. Is I think it can take us a long way.
Yeah, it's really one of those overlooked qualities where if you don't stop and think about it or consider it, it kind of dismantles a lot of structures and relationships. So
Yeah,
being kind, being thoughtful, generous, it goes a long way, and it can make the world better.
absolutely. And this is coming from someone who also identifies as grumpy and curmudgeonly and have a very dark sense of humor. And I think people can be awful, but I think we have it in us to also be wonderful. So,
so be less shitty, all of you.
that's all, yeah.
I like it. David, we're at the end. Tell us where to find you. Anything you'd like to promote? This is your time.
Thank you. Yeah. So you can find us at rousetherapy.com or rouseacademy.com for online workshops. And also that is where our workbook Sex Warriors is held. And so on rouseacademy.com, you can find various resources for working through sex and anxiety. It's specifically for men, but we will be having resources out for people of all genders coming within the year.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for having me. Also, you can find us Rouse Therapy on any social media or most social media platforms. And I'm having a lot of fun on TikTok, blathering on and talking about attachment and sex and anxiety, and it seems to be going well. We're getting some good followers.
Oh yeah, what's the TikTok handle?
Rouse Therapy.
Rouse Therapy.
So
Okay.
ROUSE therapy. And
Awesome.
So I've been talking a lot about attachment lately, but also talking about sex therapy a lot lately too, just what that's like and how to become a sex therapist, because we need more non-judgmental sex therapists now.
Yeah, I mean, a judgy sex therapist sounds like a terrible recipe.
It is, and they're out there though, but they're
Of course they are.
Yep.
Well, I'll check out your TikTok. I love a good lesson on
Oh,
TikTok.
thank you. Yeah. If you're on there, I'll follow you. I followed your
Yes.
Instagrams today and Twitter, and so I
Thank
like
you.
your stuff, so I really appreciate, our connecting on Reddit.
Awesome. Yes, I know. Thank you for answering my email that came very delayed. I appreciate
That's
it.
fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll follow you back. This has been such a pleasure. And,
Okay.
David, thank you so much for coming on. I had so much fun and learned a lot talking to you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. It was great to talk with you.
Likewise. Well, I
Yep.
hope we reconnect at some point. If not, I'll see you on the TikTok.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Have
Take
a good day. Bye.
care. Yeah. Bye.